Welcome to episode 24 of Paranormal Unwrapped with Krista Raisa and Jack Roth. Krista is a channel teacher and artist. Jack is an investigative journalist, author, and award winning filmmaker. Today we are discussing finding your deepest truth. We'd like to hear your thoughts in the comments section. Also, if you're subscribed, click the bell button to get notified each time we go live every Monday and Friday with amazing guests on this topic. Welcome back. Nice to have you here. We are
Yeah.
talking about the.
Hello, everyone.
Jack, do you know what the chakras are?
I do not. There are 7, correct?
That's right. You know what the chakras are. The
But I don't
chakras,
know what they are. But I know there's 7. So
well, chakra means wheel in ancient Sanskrit, which is the language of India. That is used in the Vedic text. So back thousands of years, over 6,000, probably a lot older than what we've been told. And that's where that information comes from. And to clairvoyants, they look like little cones that stick out from our body, from out the middle of our body, and they're spinning like this. So the throat chakra is spinning outwardly like this, and it has to do with expression, communicating your truth, the divine truth, your deepest truth that comes from your core. If that is true, that we have core deep truth, does that mean a lot of us are living on the surface or living a fake life? What does that mean? What is the to figure out what is your deepest truth? What maybe could you give us an example of what is a surface truth or a fake truth or some kind of you know?
I think when you say find your deepest truth, I think of 2 things, 2 other phrase. I say phrases. They are phrases. Um, but I think of being on purpose, and then I also hear a lot living an authentic life. And I have a feeling those all mean the same thing. They're very closely related. The idea that when you find your deepest truth, you're on purpose and you're living an authentic life, right? And I think that maybe an example of not a deep or surface truth would be, oh, I am a an attorney. I'm a lawyer, so therefore I'm successful and I make a lot of money. That makes me an awesome person. Like, will people identify themselves with their jobs or how much money they make, and they don't really understand their truth. That's what I think.
That's
That's the first thing that came to my mind.
that's so cool because that goes along with what Sanaya Roman is channeling, or the beings, or Oren and the Ben through her in this Instagram trending book, Personal Power Through Awareness. She says that we have many identities. I always thought we had one, but my healer calls it imaginary me. And it sounds like people have these imagined versions of who they are, you know,
Yeah,
imagine the
maybe
lawyer
as defense. Yeah, defense mechanisms from the time they're really young. I mean, what kind of like a facade, the facade you put on in life in order to get through life, right? Because whether it be through fear or uh, anxiety or whatever you're feeling, right? Like that you don't feel safe. We as human beings have a lot going on in our head. So maybe these are the things, the walls we put up. Maybe that's it. Like you say, the walls we put up. And if we take down those walls, we get into our deepest truth by breaking down the walls that we've put up around us. So who's the real Krista Raisa, right? I think in your case, you're very close to, it's like what you see and who you meet is who you are, right? Because you get that. You're not a fake person. You value what really matters in life. So, you're not materialistic. You're not trying to put on airs. So I think for you, you're close, right, to your deepest truth already. Now, whereas I feel like I'm pretty good with that too, actually. But I mean, there are people who are not. And how do you communicate with someone like that? How do 2 people in a relationship who aren't even close to their deepest truth, how does that relationship work? How does that communication even work?
Yeah. uh, a psychotherapist explained it as people do silly things. And then he taught meditation to Vietnam War veterans.
Mm,
And so he's really big on meditating, but also um, meditating on like asking people, "What's your meditation?" And he said his wife likes to pet a chameleon. And for some people, it's maybe pulling oracle cards or working with goddesses or something to kind of get centered. If you see someone who's meditating a lot, because a lot of people talk about meditation for compassion or yoga for compassion or something, there's an intention. And to me, if you're living intentionally, some people call also mindfulness, is you're having some kind of practice, as in before you do something, you thinking first before you act. And that's why that person might move a little bit more slowly, or they're not so reactive. Cause don't you think living on the reacting is just really surface behavior, or maybe that's just one emotional component?
yeah. And they react depending on their environment too. Like it's I kind of have I live in two worlds, right? So because of what I do for a living. So as a writer, I do a lot of this stuff and inflection and inner work and spiritual stuff, and I write about it and I research it and we do this. So from that standpoint, I'm in that world, but then I'm also, because I'm a writer and I'm a contractor, I do work for companies and corporations and businesses, whatever. And when I go into places and I'm there if you're in a work day and you see people in a work environment, I find that to be the oddest thing. Once you are on this path that we're on and you really kind of understand what your inner truth is, right? Living authentically, and then you're in a work environment and people act so, you could pick it up right away. It's not who they are. And it's not. They have such a facade built up, right? And it's not who they are at all, and you just sit there and you're like, wow, if everyone could just act like who they really are, then all that, you know, office politics and nonsense. But I think it's because people feel like they have to be a certain way when they're at work, right? It's just kind of our culture, the culture we've created. That's kind of how I because I see both, and that's why I enjoy when I'm talking with Vivi and I'm talking with you and I'm talking with other people I know in this field. It feels so good because everyone's just being themselves, and it seems like it's easier to communicate. Don't you feel that way? It's much easier to communicate and be free about what you're communicating about. Ooh, I love that. That's a great quote. I mean, is that okay? Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
One for work. People have four personas: one for work, one for family, one for a spouse, and finally one for themselves when they are alone.
Alone.
But isn't that sad? Shouldn't it always be who you really are, right?
And that's the whole idea of meditating, to pull your energy back to yourself. But I guess I'm just laughing because once you kind of go deep within, it's like these portals can open up to a whole other a whole new world, a whole new experiences, which might sound really trippy, but this is what can happen in your brain. Your DMT levels can go up in your brain, and then you start having stuff like interdimensional communication. Life gets pretty colorful. And I think that's why people are also upset, is because they are in these environments that are stifling and really not good for empathic folks. But we're also doing stuff like we're getting crystals, we're opening our chakras to each other, we're doing the spiritual stuff, spinning like a Sufi, whatever you're doing. And you start picking up on other people's, what Esther Hicks called your a vortex. She's always
Mm.
saying, so stay in your vortex.
I didn't know that's pretty cool. Yeah, hey, stay in your
Yeah,
vortex. That's
yeah.
pretty cool. Well, and it's also like, isn't it? I say one of the other things I think of is the fact that you're kind of. Well, let me ask you this: is we always wind up talking at some point or another about intuition. As you go through life, right? Does if you're paying attention, doesn't your intuitive voice become louder than your ego voice, right? And if you follow your intuitive voice, then I would imagine you're in your deepest truth. Is that does that sound like that would be accurate?
I wonder, yeah, I wonder if that, when people talk about spiritual people talk about your higher self,
Yeah.
and that, yeah, and that, so there's this theory that's what that it's like you're saying, talking about that as because I'm still trying to figure out what the heck is your intuition. Some people call it your sixth sense,
Mm-hmm.
getting goosebumps or feeling vibes in a room. It's hard to describe for people who are just in their logic, rational mind. But that higher self, I had this weird experience just actually last night, which I never really happened before. I said to her, I said, I feel like my higher self is inside of my body. I felt my higher self. And he goes, congratulations. How do you explain that? It feels like this greater power starts to move through you, and you have this intuition about what you should be doing and what shouldn't. However,
Mm-hmm.
being a I was brought up really intellectual. My parents are really intellectual teachers, and so I have to get evidence for this thing that just happened, right? Because I don't believe it. It's like that didn't happen, but the evidence of that is you start seeing repeating digits or some kind of synchronicity, and you follow those digits, and something
Mm-hmm.
amazing happens, and then you invest your energy there, and then some energy comes back to you that brings you more life or more abundance. Some things start working for you. People are just out of nowhere acting friendly. It's like these gateways open, but it has to do with you getting through some sort of threshold, some sort of new belief structure, uh,
Right.
or like an expired action that you stepped over your fear to do something. And it's a lot, and yeah, it seems to me there are people who live like this. They are constantly seems to live as a guided life.
Yeah, and I agree with that, but I think there are probably more people who don't, unfortunately. Well, and I would say in our society, quote unquote, in the United States, because we're so motivated by materialistic things where it's and again it's just everything around us, right? So you really have to find what I think the important thing is how if there are a lot of people out there who know and feel that they're not finding their deepest truth, they're not living authentically, they're not on purpose. How do people navigate that? How do people get to that point? Is there a way to do it? Does she talk about that in her book? I mean, are there things you can do? I'm sure meditation's a big part of that. But to quiet the mind and be like, who am I really? And I get it. I would imagine it's also getting rid of insecurities, working through insecurities.
She talks about compassion
Mm-hmm.
and imagining yourself in their shoes. Um, and again, that's where I'm confused because, well, this gets into the telepathy I also want to talk about today. So here's the thing. So telepathy happens according to these entities when you and someone like each other,
Mm-hmm.
and if you love each other or live together for a long time, it happens even more just by nature of things. Um, and so that compassion, it seems somewhat like that to me. I don't think you have to be telepathic and in love with someone to have compassion for them, but in your meditation, you you want to. It's this sounds really spiritual. I have to say it sounds really spiritual, but you have to you literally have to um, move your consciousness into your heart and send that person uh, love and joy. You know, it's
Now, is
not.
that a way for? Okay, so what you're saying is that a way for us to help people who are not finding their deepest truth, or is that a way for us to get to our deepest truth is to have compassion for others and help people find. If we, I almost feel like it's like you wake up. If you wake up tomorrow, you have a choice. You're going to say, I'm going to live today with full of love and compassion and empathy for others. And I'm going to share that energy from the minute I wake up to the minute I go to bed. And if you do that and you get into a habit of doing that, you will find your deepest truth. You will find your inner truth. You will find your essence. You will be comfortable with who you are because you will know who you are. Or the opposite of that would be to wake up. It's like I'm in a mood today. I'm just gonna be an idiot on purpose. I'm gonna go into work. I'm gonna fire people. Right. I'm gonna cause problems because I'm mad. I'm angry.
Yeah.
Now, that's obviously the opposite. That's a horrible energy. Right. It's a negative energy.
Yeah.
So I
And
think it's a way. Yeah, yeah, right. It's about how you go about your daily business, right? About your daily activities.
honestly, we were. I was texting you guys. I was texting Jack about some conspiracy conspiracy theories, and the thing is, you talked about, you actually described a person I know who fake got a lump on their chest,
Mm,
and one of their favorite things to do is fire people. And there was this party where it was actually their birthday, and one of the coworkers got on the microphone and started doing, kind of in a jokey way, but was really unloading on what they really thought about them. And I just can't imagine, you like imagine your coworker just letting everyone know how you're just crap on your birthday. By the way, you're a jerk. By the way,
yeah,
and they developed a lump on the chest, and on vacation, they'll be on the phone firing, talking about how they're going to fire that person, all their bad qualities. And so while I'm not really invested in figuring out that person, I know they have issues in life, and they're very much about I believe that they believe having money makes them better because it gives them control
right,
over others who owe them. It's like their personal bank. Uh,
right,
So yeah, that's a really tough question. How do you reach someone like that who's in the process of creating illness in their physical body because they are really hating something?
right.
Boy.
Well, maybe it's what you said. Have empathy,
Mhm.
have compassion, and just love them. How hard is that, right? Like imagine like someone who's just a horrible human being in every way, shape, or form, right? One of these people you just can't stand. And we're all human. We've all been there. We all have at least one person. We just everything about them is just wrong, right? And goes against everything we believe, right? And so I think of staunch Trump supporters at this point where I'm like, oh, I just can't stand everything about those people. But we don't get political on the show. That's right. Sorry, Krista. But I add this as an example of someone says, how could they be so hateful and they
There's
don't
a
care about
genre
other
for that.
people, selfish or all that. And but but to really be a spiritual being and to get in tune with your higher self, you would have compassion for that person and walk up to them and give them a hug. I mean, it sounds crazy, and I don't know if a lot of people have that in them to do that, but maybe everyone just needs love. And a lot of times they're acting the way they're acting because they either don't have love, people aren't paying attention to them, so they're angry. There's something going on, but people like that are so far from their deepest truth, right? I mean, that's like the opposite. It's like they have to be so far adrift spiritually. When you think about who we really are as spiritual beings,
You
they
can
have to be
measure. You can
pretty
measure.
far.
My friend
Oh,
has a
really?
device, yeah, that measures your chakras.
Okay.
And there are people who, made a ton of money in real estate. They look super sexy, have all the great looks. Um, some health issues here and there, but then the upper chakras, so the lower chakras are your body, your survival, your household, and then your emotions, your money, your emotions, your job. your willpower, uh, and then but then higher qualities like love, truth, inner vision, you know, following a universal flow, and in the flow of the universe, these things are all often distorted, and it actually shows.
Mhm.
So while while spirituality teaches that we a lot of us some of us incarnate just to help certain people, like there's certain souls that we want to uplift and help. I don't believe in living for someone else, like you just give up your whole, like a martyr for that person.
Right.
Because at the
Well, right. You're
because yeah, those negative people, they have obviously negative entity attachments, in my opinion, and that brings these people down. So the people that hang out with them start to become what superficial, money hungry,
right.
pompous, all those things.
They could be like vampires, right? They suck that positive energy out of you. And there
Oh
are people like that. Yeah. But if we're saying we're all spiritual beings, then what do you do? Like I tend to, and maybe I'm wrong for this, but I try to avoid people like that at all costs at this point in my life, because I feel like I don't have the time, I don't have the energy. I want to be around people who kind of understand what it's, are on that path of growth, right? And understanding of what it is to be a human being, and but also to be compassionate and empathetic towards others. I mean, we're all in it together. I always thought, how could you look at a child, a baby, and
yeah.
not love that child, right? Like, I don't care who you are. And yet we talk about in history people doing terrible things. They kill babies, right? And war and all these terrible things. But like, how could you not, like, I don't know. I don't know where people, maybe it's young souls versus older souls. Maybe it's they haven't learned certain things yet. And it's hard to grasp what they're experiencing in 3D form, right? And where older souls have done it more and they get it more, and they're able to integrate their brain function with their spiritual essence a lot better than people who are young, much younger souls.
Yeah.
Maybe that's part of it. Like I can't imagine, like I think, Krista, like when I can't imagine you not being empathetic towards anyone. Like the most annoying person in the world, I would think you'd be like, oh yeah, but they're going. I just see you being very
I
empathetic towards
love that
people,
killer. No,
right? Or no? I mean,
I'm look, you guys, I do not promote violence. Sometimes I've had violent thoughts, and I don't like having violent thoughts. When I started complaining with Rob, we went to this gem show this weekend, and the whole car ride there, because we were going into this area, this little city that was just really, it looked really bereft and downtrodden. The energy felt, as an empath, it felt hopeless, like you're stuck. So I'm feeling this environment and I'm just complain. I had a headache the whole time, every time I started complaining to him.
oh,
And so when you develop, I like that she says you kind of can't go backwards. So when you're filling yourself with more light, it gets harder for you to be negative. Even a little yoga stretch later, even after you eat a nice green smoothie, even after you look at happy animal videos, it's hard to do that. But at the same time, a lot of research suggests that these lower realms in the spirit world are really packed, and that there's less and less beings in the higher realms, which was that kind of startled me. It's like, okay, you have your own, you can go up and ascend for yourself, but that's why I think we talked about soul groups and soul family, because what's the use in being in heaven all day if you can't help your brothers and sisters who just are lost and trapped?
right,
But like where, how I think it's like you're asking how negative can they get, and what's our responsibility, like how far are we supposed to go in our responsibility to affect them, right?
right. Yeah, right. I mean, how much should we, right? How much do we owe it to other people? I mean, maybe as human beings we do. I don't know. I don't know the answer to that. And again, we're all not perfect. I mean, we're sitting here, we're just for the record, Chris and I aren't saying we're perfect. I mean,
Yeah.
we're on the path to discovery and all this stuff too. We're learning. But I'm just saying, people in general, people who are listening to the show, I'm sure are on a similar path. They want to learn more. They want to be, they're spiritual people. They've experienced things. They want to experience more on that level. So, but I also have seen people who listen to these shows and have really nasty comments on shows. They're haters. They go on and they say really bad things. So, what kind of, that's not positive, right? What is it about human beings that makes them like this? Like, I almost think like if we were on Orion or an Arcturian homeworld, and we had this show, and we were all Arcturian, right? And we were like, oh, so today we're going to talk about this. And then we'll be like, well, there's no reason to talk about it because we're all good. We're already evolved. We're already there. But the fact that we're human is what makes this interesting because we're so complex and we are not, I mean, the things that we're capable of both on the very high vibrational side and low vibrational side. And it's amazing. I think that's what makes us so interesting, not only to ourselves, but to other people, to other ET races. Uh,
Oh
couldn't
my
it be that you, yeah,
goodness.
wait, couldn't it be that humans behave like whatever, especially for observer to be able to perceive it like a cosmic mirror, just as one perspective next to all the others, which may contradict it? That's interesting.
Interesting points.
So I'm
Yeah,
saying people have a lot to say about this, which is good, and they are really making interesting points today.
this guy said
Maybe.
this guy said to me, he said, I'm a human, but also an animal. And that has me thinking because, right, I talk about being a fairy in a human form and things like that. We're talking about being ETs in human form and how precious life is on this planet. Um, like I said, animal videos. And like, how could someone not like a baby? How could you not like a little baby otter on its back chewing on some seaweed? You know?
Right. Yeah.
And those
Or some
things,
people just want to pick it up and feed it, but there are other people that want to just shoot it and hunt it. Right. So what what is,
those
like what
people, we're so people, for heaven's sakes.
well, here's the thing. So if you're saying, okay, so you have, if you're saying, oh well, I'm a human, but I'm an animal. But there's a difference between human beings and animals. So you compare if you compare a human being to a wolf, let's say, where animals are it's very instinctual. They act based on instinct, right? And they might have a small bit of self-awareness, but human beings have almost complete self-awareness. In other words, I'm here, I think, therefore I am, right? I know I'm going to die. I don't think, like, I don't think a wolf wakes up in the morning. He's like, I'm getting old. I wonder how much longer I got left. They don't think that way. I'm hungry. Okay. I'm thirsty. Okay. I'm cold. Let's
Yeah.
hunt. Let's, right, find shelter.
Mhm.
So, I think we have to put ourselves a little above animals from the standpoint of that self awareness. I think it's an excuse to say, oh, we're just animals. We're derived from, primates. So we're just animals. Well, I think along the way, we evolved at some point, whether through DNA manipulation or not, doesn't matter. We evolved. And now we understand, for us to understand the concept of God or the concept of heaven or the concept of love, right? A dog might feel love, but a dog, I don't think, is sitting there thinking about, what's love today?
Yeah.
Krista, a dog, your pet's not gonna be like, what's love exactly? They don't think that. They just don't have that capacity. So, we are different. I really believe that we're different and we're at a certain level of evolution that's, but it's kind of in a weird part of our evolution where we're getting there, but we're not there yet. So to find our deepest truth, getting back to that, I think a lot of us struggle with finding our authenticity, with finding our purpose, with finding our deepest truth, and it's unfortunate. But I think that, I think if we give people advice, I would say, look, just quiet the mind, meditate, be thoughtful, right? And like you said, Krista, be empathetic, be compassionate, be loving, be caring.
You said it. That's why this is called a spiritual practice. Oh wow. Remember how we'll this is really nice to hear that you guys are contemplating these changes that are possibly happening. And we want to know more of what's going on. If you guys like today's topic, comment below. Check out J3 Films Extraordinary The Seeding. Also, check out my new Spiritual Planes and Dimensions online course. And we will see you guys on Friday. Thanks, Jack. It's been great
Thanks,
chat.
Krista. Bye.